Enjoy the rest of the concert.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Backlot Banter. I'm Tanner Dykstra, joined, not as always, but, somewhat more regularly by my sociopathic co-host, Abram Buhner. We are here today to talk about the modern master of thrills, his new film, M. Night Shyamalan, a divisive filmmaker who seems to be on the up and up, and his new film is, of course, entitled Trap, starring Josh Hartnett, starring M. Night Shyamalan's daughter, starring, some other people in supporting roles, but it's really a Josh Hartnett one-hander, a serial killer flick, where the serial killer is trapped at a concert. Before we get into it and you get to hear both of our thoughts, I want to remind you to subscribe to Backlot Banter, to like this video, comment your thoughts on this film down below, and if you would like to talk more about this film or any film in particular, video games, comic books, music, cooking, we do it all on our Discord channel, Discord server rather, that is in the description of this video. You can join that up. We have a good time there, so I encourage you to do so. Abram, we have just seen M. Night Shyamalan's newest film, Trap.
We have.
Much anticipated from my side of things. I'm not sure how long you've been anticipating this, but I feel like we were both very excited going into this, so I want to know your thoughts on the film overall. No spoilers, don't worry. We'll stay spoiler-free for now.
Yeah, so Shyamalan is divisive, but not to me because I'd not seen any of his movies.
Okay, yeah.
This was my first of his, and I was interested in the film principally because of you guys and and very good trailers for the movie. Mm-hmm. And so I had no real preconceived notions of him as a filmmaker going in, and the biggest thumbs up I can give is that I want to go watch more of his filmography now.
Absolutely.
Because I found Trap to be very, very fun and funny.
Yeah.
And as you were saying, it's a staple of his work that I just wasn't ready for. And that was a real pleasant surprise, because I think that the sort of irreverent sense that this movie has is what propels it for me. You never know exactly what degree of zany we're going to encounter in any particular scene. And I think that works with overall really good scripting and directing.
Okay.
To carry me through to the end quite happily. I think it loses its way for me. This film feels like it ends about 3 times, so I can't even really anticipate. I can't really tell you exactly how long into the movie it started to lose me, but I can tell you the plot point when we get to spoilers.
Okay.
But on the whole, I thought it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, I mean, a lot of this film, as we'll sort of talk about, was hidden from trailers. But the core hook of it, the concert part, is just that in the film, and it is a really engaging hook, and it's all anchored by Josh Hartnett's performance, which I think is going to be my biggest takeaway from this. Seems at the same time very focused, and then kind of like he's wiry, he is all over the place, he is scrambling for solutions in all of these different scenarios, but all the time being quite assured, being quite capable, and being even scary and sociopathic in how he carries out these things. So I really enjoyed him. I have recently completed M. Night Shyamalan's filmography in the lead up to this film, so I have quite a few thoughts on him as an auteur, obviously, and how he brings some of those auteur sensibilities to Trap. But ultimately, I think M. Night Shyamalan is just a really compelling writer-director going into this film, as he has been for the last several, where he has kind of free reign to do whatever he wants. These are original stories, from his mind, written, produced, directed by him, and they feel completely funneled through him and his vision and everything like that. And it looks great, and it's super engaging and exciting and thrilling. And you're right, it has a sense of irreverence like some of M. Night's best films do, where whether you're liking it or not, you're laughing during it, because he has that kind of just heightened sensibility that runs through a lot of his films, including Trap. So Abram, where do you want to start? We'll go a little bit more non-spoilers, but as with any M. Night film, you kind of got to talk about the whole thing.
And we will, but another thing I want to shout out is just the production design of the film. I think it's very smart. The concert I found quite compelling, almost by its own merit.
Yeah.
Which I really enjoyed. The costuming, the choreography, the way it's filmed. It's not a concert movie.
No.
But it evokes that, I think, very effectively. And even though this film is so heightened in its dialogue and its scenario, I think that the filmmaking and the arena we're in, the way it's framed, the way our characters are dressed, there are these notes, I think, anchor the film very effectively in reality. And I think that really helped sort of suture me into the much more peculiar performances and tone.
Yes, so peculiar performances and tone is kind of the name of the game for Shyamalan, especially in his like post Avatar, post After Earth kind of period, where he is doing this thing where he's producing his own work and then kind of selling it out to studios, where he can have a lot more creative control over each of his projects. And people have poked fun at M. Night Shyamalan's dialogue writing and his direction of his actors, but I think at this point, 4 or 5 movies into this current style of Shyamalan, it's clearly an artistic choice.
Yeah.
And it works better for some and it doesn't work as well for others. And here I think it really works, because this is by far some of the most natural seeming a lot of his characters and dialogue has sounded in recent years. And the oddity of it all is mostly coming out of Josh Hartnett, who, and again, this is not a spoiler because we know this from the trailers, is like a sociopathic kidnapper serial killer. So it makes sense intuitively that he is acting strange in normal scenarios, where he's talking to his daughter, or strangers at this concert, or the mother of a different kid that is there, or whatever. It makes sense that he is haggard, he is all over the place, he is trying to get out of these conversations, but also he can't relate to people like normally. So it really clicks, I think, and Shyamalan is very smart in how he has constructed this film, in having that be the hook and having that serve his writing, sort of those idiosyncrasies of his writing.
Yeah, and I think they do a really good job of setting him up as a serial killer he is, with this almost like mythological sense, because they don't know who he is, they just know what he's done.
Yeah.
But we know him as this just sort of goofy dad. And so the very early juxtaposition of his relationship with his daughter against the mass police presence, the messages over the radio, they construct an image of the man, and then the audience has a different reality. And I think it plays all these sides off each other very nicely.
The audience's reality is something that's very well managed here by Shyamalan, because for the vast majority of this film, and I'm not sure, maybe this speaks to my own sociopathy, I was like, I kind of want him to get out of this. I like this guy. Josh Hartnett is very engaging. He is sort of a heartthrob, if you will, who's aged into like his roles in Oppenheimer and whatnot. And so he's super charismatic and he's super fun to watch, problem solve in this movie. And so you're like, I know that he's like a brutal murderer, but I kind of want him to escape because it's so fun to watch him try and figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, there's a Hitman-like quality, Hitman in the video game series.
Exactly, exactly that.
You're tied to his perspective so closely that the puzzle box of getting out of the arena is just so much fun to unpick that I think you're sympathetic to him very, very, very quickly.
Yes.
And again, it goes back to clever script writing moments of illustrating all the closed doors. Both literally, but also just escape routes.
Yeah, physically, yeah.
So I think that the stakes ratchet very nicely at the same time that I think we just have a very compelling father-daughter relationship.
Yep.
I think his daughter is a really key component of why you care about him.
Let me grab that actress's name here quickly. Portrayed by Ariel Donoghue is playing his daughter, Riley. And yeah, she's really good. I mean, obviously, this whole film is sort of trading in on, as is a film coming out later this year, Smile 2, trading in on like the Eras tour, the fandom around female pop stars. Lady Raven in this film is very much supposed to be like a Taylor Swift type of performer that inspires a lot of this like fervent fandom, and Riley very much falls in that, and it's super fun to see her having fun at the concert, and like that's the dynamic that Josh Hartnett's character Cooper has to play with, is that like he cares about his daughter and he wants to be there for her and he did this for her, not for any like subversive reasons. He just like loves his daughter and wanted to take her to this concert, but he's also like, but the cops are fucking here. They're trying to get me right now. So I have to like be there for my daughter and also figure out how to get myself and by extension her out of here undetected, without her picking up on anything that's strange. And so you kind of feel this tension, this internal tension of anytime that he has to make an excuse to like get out of the concert hall and try and go look for exits and try to like put together an escape plan or whatever. It's really, really compelling, and yet you have to keep returning to that home base a little bit to check in with the daughter, see how things are changing, sort of see the police closing in through the crowd and everything like that. It's super, super compelling.
I agree. I think that we're sort of butting up against the fact there's a lot.
Okay, let's talk about
talk spoilers.
2 thumbs up.
Yeah,
sounds
I really enjoyed it.
Really like this one. So spoilers for Trap from here on out.
Yeah.
So it's not like there is a big Shyamalan twist here.
No.
There is a reveal that comes later, but I would say it's more of a standard movie reveal. So let's take it step by step here. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves.
For sure.
So eventually, what happens is he discovers his way out. You know, he found out that every exit is going to be covered except for the backstage exit. Okay. So he has to find a way. He has to find a way to get him and his daughter backstage. And as luck would have it, Lady Raven does a Dream Girl segment wherein she picks an audience member out of the crowd, and they get to sing with her on stage, and they also get to go backstage. And so he makes up a lie about his daughter used to have leukemia, but she's getting over it. To M. Night Shyamalan, he does this classic director cameo as he does in most of his films, and that's how he gets backstage. But there are further complications, of course.
Yeah.
In probably, there's a lot of like great scenes in the back half of this film. After in the backstage and then outside of the concert as well. I think my favorite is when he just decides to fully show his hand to Lady Raven.
Yeah.
He eventually gets her in her dressing room to talk to her in private for a moment. And he's like, "Hey, listen, I'm the butcher. I have this guy. I can kill him remotely. So you're going to get us out of here, or I'm going to kill him and it'll be on your hands." And then it just runs from there. It goes from like them now Josh Hartnett and effectively Taylor Swift, who his daughter loves, are in this like cat and mouse bluffing each other game in the back of a limousine and going to Josh Hartnett's house and everything. It spins off in a direction that I had no idea it would. I thought we were just going to be in that arena the entire movie. Yeah,
and I really enjoyed it as long as Lady Raven was in the picture. I think that obviously the pace changes quite significantly because when we're in the arena, it's very methodical. And then once the domino is pushed, as he reveals that he is the butcher, the film speeds up very, very significantly.
Yep.
It sort of has to, and in the headspace of the narrative, it makes sense that that's the case. But I think that after the Lady Raven stuff happens, she has tried to trick him. There's been a little bit of a back and forth. I love the whole scene in the house. Then you're losing me a little bit.
Okay, so it's after. So what is it after? Like she goes on the live stream and everything. When's the point for you? When's the tipping point?
I would say it's when the garage door opens.
Okay, and the family's standing there.
Family's standing there. Raven leaves. He's in the house. Escapes through the tunnel.
Yeah.
I think that we're just doing fakes and double fakes so much through the end of the film.
Okay.
And I was just sort of unconvinced by the whole infidelity suspicion on behalf of his wife.
Sure. You mean like so the final reveal here is that the Shyamalan style twist is that it's in fact Josh Hartnett's wife which initially suspected him of maybe cheating on her or maybe something more sinister going on, follows him to one of these murder safe houses or whatever.
Yeah.
And just, I guess, this is where like a logical jump needs to happen.
Yeah.
Puts together that he is the butcher, this infamous serial killer.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to be like cinema sins.
No, I get you. How could she have known? Yeah.
Yeah, I just think that what I really enjoyed about the film up to that point is how carefully constructed everything was. And how you see a path forward for the narrative, and then Shyamalan is controlling that very closely. You think, okay, he can cause a diversion in the kitchen to get to the roof, and then at the last moment you see the SWAT step around the corner. We're always being jerked just a little bit back and forth, and I think that that's really effective. But then when we're just sort of dominoing out I think a less methodical and more plot heavy conclusion, it loses
he's certainly like getting towards the end of his rope. Like a lot of his like fail safes or contingency plans are falling away, and he becomes more unhinged. And this final scene in the house when he decides to take his shirt off is the kind of the most unhinged bit. That's when this final reveal happens, and then the demise of the butcher, of course, is that his wife like puts some drugs in his food, the same drugs that he uses to like drug his victims or whatever. And then he gets tased like 4 different times by SWAT team members, and then led out of the house in handcuffs.
It's a challenging line to walk because it goes back to what you were saying earlier of you care about him quite deeply. So the script is at sort of an impasse. You love the character who's serially murdered, I think it's like a dozen people.
Yeah, I think they say 12.
At this point, it's like I think it's a bolder film if he either just wins or just loses.
Okay.
He kind of doesn't. It's a middle ground, but I think you have to thread that needle to satisfy the audience of he gets away, but you still have the closure of him getting caught.
Shyamalan is trying to ride that line a little closely, because I totally thought this was going to be like, okay, I know he's charismatic, I know he's Josh Hartnett, but like he is a murderer. I am M. Night Shyamalan. I don't do like bleak endings a whole lot of the time.
Sure.
Like even like his bleakest movies, like Old or whatever, have like a somewhat of a happy ending. So I thought, justice needs to be served. He's gonna get out, and I do like this ultimately because I just find him a compelling presence. And it ends on Hartnett getting to ham it up just a tiny bit more. He like ripped a spoke out of his daughter's bike and used that to undo his handcuffs or whatever, and he ended on like this cackling laugh. I'm like, Shyamalan can't help himself, but I'm glad that's the case, because he recognizes the power of this central performance, the power of this character that he's crafted that like is evil, but also it's kind of fun to watch him be evil and figure things out.
It's just really fun in general. I think that to me, the choices at the end are in service of the fun in the moment in the theater.
Yes.
I just don't, for me, think that they reach the same heights as the way that we were operating in the actual arena.
There is a clear like separation that you can feel where the seed of the idea was, and that's what the trailer was that was sold on, that made it so compelling, was that like serial killer trapped at a concert. How is he going to get out? What sort of things is he going to do to try and escape police custody? And then the back half of this movie,
it's longer than I thought it would be.
The last hour, 45 minutes probably, are all outside of that venue. And yes, I can understand that they feel less compelling because he's not literally trapped in an enclosed space, but I think he keeps it fresh, and having Lady Raven be like this antagonistic force to him in his own home, and then his family realizing who he is, and then this like kind of police chase through the streets as he's in SWAT gear and everything. I think Shyamalan knows how to keep it fresh and keep you moving, even if it is not in that like tight, confined, compelling space of that concert venue.
Yeah, and I also want to shout out Raven in general, because I found her very compelling.
Saleka Shyamalan.
Yeah. First of all, she's a very good singer.
Yes.
She's a very good performer. I didn't realize, as you told me later, she actually is a
She is a musician, yes.
Which is really cool. She does... It's not worth bringing up any other point, but Kid Cudi jump scare, and then Russ jump scare in particular.
There are some interesting faces you see pop up in this. M. Night Shyamalan himself, like I already mentioned. She's really good. And when it happens and you're like, oh, she's going to be a bigger part, the second thought after that was, M. Night Shyamalan, you bad. Listen, he's a guy who's a director who's very informed by like his kids. His kids are a very big part of his films and the themes that he toys with in all of his movies. Or all of his movies since he's had kids, I should say. And it's just fun to be like, of course he's gonna make like his daughter like basically the third most important character in this entire movie.
Yeah.
And it's it's fun to see him like slyly stick that in there. Like, yes, I'm gonna make her like the Taylor Swift figure. That's all you thought it was gonna be, but also she's a really important character in the movie too.
Yeah, and she just has obviously this confident persona, but I think
she really stands up to this guy who she knows is a serial killer in really interesting ways and tries to outfox him.
Yeah, and I think it's very effective. I mean, because Josh Hartnett looms so large over the narrative and just the performance is so nuts that it would be very easily to have whoever he's up against just crumble under the weight of that performance, but I don't think she does. I think she's actually quite impressive.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple moments where people show that they're not really afraid of him. Lady Raven is a big one of those, but also his wife tries to, like, stand up to him in a certain way or sort of talk him down from the ledge a little bit. I also enjoy that, we don't do a lot, but we just get a little sprinkle of, like, his psychology.
Yeah.
Because, we're sort of told that this FBI, what do they call her, an analyst or whatever, this old woman in the film that isn't actually that big of a part of the movie,
No.
has sort of, like, made a characterization of him and sort of backgrounded him and told everybody at this concert, like, what his MO is and everything. And you get a little bit of that. Like, that's confirmed. He has this thing with his mother and being punished a lot as a child and having this anger within him. And we get that without having... And I really enjoyed this because a lesser movie would have done this. That concert part of the movie has like no interior narration from him. You get one moment where he like hallucinates an old woman who's his mother or whatever at one point. But other than that, it's just all him and these looks and everything and him piecing things together and M. Night showing you what he's piecing together with the camera. So very well done. I like the line that it walks on a lot of these things. M. Night is a director who can oftentimes dip to one side or another, dip to one topic a little bit too heavily. This one I feel very well balanced. I don't know if I said it already, but it's kind of like my second favorite movie of his. I cannot deny that Sixth Sense is a great film. It's my favorite, but like I really enjoyed this one, and I think it spells a super interesting direction for M. Night going forward, and we'll probably get another movie from him like next year or the year after at the pace he's going.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go a 8.7 on this one.
I'll just go flat 8.
Okay, right on. Yeah. Really enjoyed this. Very much recommend it. If you've already seen Deadpool and Wolverine, go check this one out.
Yeah.
It's a good time. Good stuff. Good stuff all around. Nice to see thrillers back in the theater. Not straight up just a horror movie, just a thriller movie. Good stuff. Thank you so much for joining us here. Let us know your thoughts on this film and M. Night's whole filmography in the comments down below, or I'd be happy to talk about it more in our Discord server, as I mentioned. But thanks so much. We'll see you next time.